What up, you guys? Welcome back to Pro Publications YouTube channel. It's me, Rich, your anti-fascist comic book nerd, curating comics for your empowerment and enjoyment. And today I want to go on a soapbox rant about why I think YouTube is going to beat TikTok. And this is based off of my personal experience, using both platforms to try to build what I'm trying to build. I will say this, that I've gotten 2 strikes on TikTok. One was for a video where I basically compiled all the times and images of Trump with Epstein. And that video got me a strike, and obviously a lot of hate comments and so on and so forth. That same video on YouTube got 400 and something views. Nothing crazy, but it's rather the idea that they didn't give me a strike for that. People were still upset about the video and obviously made comments of the same nature, but like the video still stands and still visible to this day. On TikTok, that video cannot be seen anymore. It's not allowed for people to view. My second strike on there was me showing off the book MAUS. And the thing that gets me is I'm not sure why it got flagged or why it got banned, but I want to say it's because of the art. Because Art Spiegelman on the cover of the book, as a matter of fact, let me bring it real quick. So like on TikTok, I couldn't show this cover. And that's because there's a swastika here, and obviously there's a reference to Adolf Hitler, but it's very well done, and it's made in a way to make a very poignant point of like this hate and this way of being was lingering over his parents, right? Art Spiegelman's parents, Vlad and Anja. And that's what he tried to communicate and depict in this cover. Now, if a Jewish man cannot tell his family's story the way he sees fit, then like that's alarming to me. And that's the problem that I think we have of like sometimes there's an overcorrection. Like you can't erase that, because when you erase that, you also erase the narrative of Art Spiegelman's father fighting against fascist Germany. You also, you know, you hide the point of like the mechanisms that made that possible. That's why it's dangerous to hide these kind of books and these histories. I understand that they're tough topics to discuss and that they're not easy discussions, but they're discussions worth having. And I'm so glad that like YouTube, for all the faults that it does have, has very rarely ever been like, you can't talk about that. What it has says is like, you can't use that music or you can't use that video clip. And I get that that's for copyright purposes, right? But like doing like a thoughtful like discussion around a certain topic or theme, YouTube has never disallowed that. At least that's been my experience. And that's why I think TikTok is going to end up losing to YouTube. Because eventually people aren't going to want to speak in code. They're not going to want to say unalive. They're going to say what the actual topic is. And there's whole other like variations of that we can get into maybe on another day. But like in the end, people are going to want to tell their story their way. And because TikTok won't allow that, I'm betting my money on YouTube. It's always been the platform that I've enjoyed the most because they've meddled very little with me. Whereas like Instagram or like Meta period, right? So Instagram and Facebook has had hella problems with me and some of the stuff I posted. TikTok as well, like I've just communicated. And then you've had other platforms that I just didn't really gravitate to. But YouTube has been the one constant that allows me to talk about the things I perceive and the way that I want to speak about it. So I've made, you know, statements, bold statements on this channel, and I've talked about heavy topics on this channel. And YouTube has never like given me a strike or try to silence that, right? So for those reasons, that's why I think TikTok's gonna lose out. Don't get me wrong, every platform has its little quirks and problems. I'm not saying TikTok is a bad app, but you can't continuously try to give people a superficial, surface level type of thing. And that goes even to a bigger discussion that maybe we'll have on another day about Sora and TikTok and the threat of AI against art. Like, I don't think AI threatens art. I think AI threatens safe, complacent, in a box art. The art that I make, I've tried to have AI, like a battle between me and AI just won't produce what I do. It just won't do it. The reason is that it can't think that way. It doesn't understand why I would have a drawing of a man shitting his hands. But if you just heard that and giggled, you understand why that's something that I would put in a comic. But alright, you guys, that's all I got for you guys today, man. Just a soapbox, me, ranting and raving about this shit. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and we'll be back tomorrow with more MAUS goodness.